You know, usually when people talk about building their absolute dream house, they spend months obsessing over the visible
Oh,
details.
right. The finishes.
Exactly. I mean, people agonize over the perfect open concept kitchen island or the exact shade of the hardwood floors or whether the bathroom fixtures should be matte black or brushed nickel.
Yeah, and it makes sense on a surface level. People naturally focus on what they interact with every single day. The finishes are what you actually see.
Right, but if you bring an actual structural architect onto the property, they aren't looking at paint swatches. They are looking straight at the dirt.
Because they're looking at the foundational footprint.
Yes, because without the structural integrity underneath, all those beautiful, expensive finishes are, well, they're just waiting to crack the second the earth shifts, and the earth always shifts.
Always.
So today, we're applying that exact architectural truth to our families. We are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating manuscript by Marcus Preciado.
Right? It's called Project HomeWord. 7 steps to building a home that loves and lasts.
Because the hard truth is, every parent wants a family that thrives, but almost nobody actually has a structural plan to build one. And the core thesis here is basically a massive wake-up call. It argues that almost every single family is operating on good intentions, but, and this is the kicker, good intentions are no longer enough to build a family that actually thrives.
Yeah, it requires a major pivot. We need a concrete blueprint.
Which is exactly why a book like this is so necessary right now. I mean, for everyone listening, have you ever felt like you were pouring absolutely all your energy into your family, working tirelessly to provide, only to feel like you're all still just quietly drifting apart?
The landscape for the modern family has shifted dramatically over the last few decades. The pressure bearing down on the family structure today is just unprecedented.
The contrast between the past and the present really is stark. I mean, a few generations ago, parents were worrying about making sure the kids were home before the streetlights came on.
Yeah, or maybe keeping them away from too much television on a Saturday morning.
Right. The environmental pressures are just heavy, complex, and constant.
We're looking at an environment where digital technology and social media are actively engineered by some of the brightest minds on the planet to maximize engagement. And that's often fostering deep behavioral addiction right inside the living room.
Wow. Yeah, it's literally engineered to pull them away.
It is. And on top of that, you have rapid, sweeping shifts in cultural narratives surrounding gender identity and sexual ideology. There's a heavily documented youth mental health crisis, widespread faith deconstruction among younger generations, and rising rates of fatherlessness.
It's a lot.
It's a tremendous amount. These aren't just abstract concepts. They are the active weather system hitting the walls of the modern home.
And looking at that landscape impartially, it really functions as a weather report for the modern family, like you said. It explains the sheer weight pushing against the doors.
Definitely.
But what stands out to me is that struggling with family dynamics isn't just a modern phenomenon. I mean, even historical figures with immense spiritual authority face catastrophic failures at home. Take the biblical story of Eli.
Oh, Eli is a fascinating case study in the danger of passive parenting. He was the high priest of Israel. By all public metrics, he was incredibly successful and highly respected.
Right. He was entrusted with raising the great prophet Samuel, which he did successfully.
He did.
Yeah.
But his own biological sons, Hophni and Phinehas, grew up to be entirely corrupt. They were actively taking advantage of the very people they were supposed to serve.
And the wildest part of that story is that Eli fully knew what his sons were doing. Like, he wasn't in the dark.
No, he had all the information.
Right. He had the info, but he chose a path of absolute minimal resistance. He gave them a mild verbal warning instead of actually intervening. He prioritized temporary peace in his relationships over structural integrity in his home.
Yeah, he allowed the dysfunction to run rampant. And it ultimately cost him his sons and his entire legacy. It demonstrates a terrifying reality. Knowing the truth, possessing spiritual authority, or even dedicating your life to ministry, none of that automatically builds a protective barrier around your own home. Passive knowledge just does not equal active construction. Marcus Preciado isn't writing from some ivory tower.
No, definitely not.
He's a former college football player who transitioned into becoming a pastor. And his wife, Tracy, is an accountant. Her background is incredibly important here because she didn't grow up in some idyllic, picture-perfect home.
Right. It was really tough.
Yeah, she grew up in a deeply dysfunctional, broken environment. So she knows exactly what a collapsing house looks and feels like from the inside.
And the catalyst for them actually developing this Project HomeWord blueprint is so visceral. It's not some theoretical academic exercise.
Not at all.
Marcus shares this incredibly raw moment in the book. It's a Sunday morning. He is standing on stage mid-sermon, preaching to his congregation. He looks down the center aisle of the church, and he sees Tracy walking toward him.
Oh man, this part is intense.
It really is. She is in tears. She's carrying their daughter Macy in one arm, holding newborn Kayla in the other, and their 3-year-old son Diego is literally clinging to her leg as she drags him down the aisle.
It's just the ultimate visual of a family in distress. And Marcus describes having this harsh, immediate revelation right there under the stage lights. He realized he was exhausting himself trying to save everyone else's family at his church while his own family was quietly drowning right in front of him.
Wow.
Yeah, he was wearing the respected title of pastor out in public, but he was fundamentally failing at his most important job at home. That is just a gut punch.
It really is.
But that moment forces a massive pivot. It forces the ultimate question. Am I building the right thing here?
And that hits so close to home, and not just for pastors. Think about how many people listening right now are absolutely crushing it at the office. You might be winning industry awards, scaling a successful business, getting promoted.
Right.
But do you have any actual energy left for the people waiting inside? Or are they just getting the depleted version of you?
That's the trap. Public success is incredibly seductive
Mm-hmm.
because it offers immediate validation. But it can so easily mask private deterioration.
I mean, that forced a massive, painful pivot. They had to rebuild everything from the ground up, and it required immense sacrifice. Tracy actually made the courageous decision to quit her highly lucrative career as an accountant to focus entirely on stabilizing the family.
Right. And she makes this profound observation in the book. She acknowledges that while leaving that income was a, quote, dumb decision for an accountant, it was the absolute right decision for a mother.
Which is powerful. It was the necessary cost to start laying down this new blueprint. But, okay, let's unpack this for a second before we get into the actual steps. I hear the word blueprint and my cynical alarm bells start ringing.
Fair enough. Why is that?
Well, because kids aren't lumber. You can't just measure twice, cut once, and guarantee a perfect result. You can follow a blueprint perfectly, and your teenager might still rebel or make terrible choices. So, does the author actually believe a 7-step plan is going to bulletproof a family?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is the exact friction point the author addresses right out of the gate. He introduces what we should probably call a no guarantee clause.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, people often quote Proverbs, which says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." A lot of well-meaning parents treat that verse like a legally binding contract with the universe.
Like a transactional promise.
Exactly. But Preciado emphasizes that it is a proverb, which means it's a general principle of wisdom. It is not a cosmic promise.
Because children have agency, they have free will. You can build the most beautiful house in the world, and they still get to choose whether they want to live in it or, burn it down.
That is the tragic reality of human agency. The book makes it crystal clear that there are absolutely zero guarantees in parenting. What this 7-step framework does, however, is provide the absolute best architectural plan to maximize the opportunity for success.
To maximize the opportunity. I like that.
Yeah, it creates the optimal conditions. You can't force a seed to grow, but you can make sure it's planted in rich soil, given water, and exposed to sunlight. That is what the blueprint is designed to do.
It takes that crushing pressure of perfection off the parents, but leaves the responsibility of preparation. So let's look at the actual construction process. Step 1 of the blueprint is to trust the architect.
The cornerstone of the whole thing.
Exactly. If you're building a massive structure, everything relies on the cornerstone. In ancient building practices, the cornerstone was the very first stone set in the construction of a masonry foundation. Every single other stone, every wall, every angle of the entire building was aligned based on that one piece of rock.
Exactly. And in this blueprint, the home has to be built around a person, around God. It's anchored in the biblical declaration of Joshua 24. "As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord."
So setting that cornerstone establishes the ultimate orientation of the house. The architect of the family is God, who is fundamentally perfect, good, and faithful. And once that trajectory is set, the next phase is pouring the foundation itself. The central principle here is that the Bible, along with your shared core family values, provides the bedrock upon which the rest of the home sits.
The manuscript uses a brilliant metaphor here involving concrete.
Ah, I loved this part.
Right, fresh concrete is incredibly fragile.
Yeah.
If you pour a concrete slab and try to frame a house on it the very next afternoon, it'll just crack under the pressure. Structural concrete actually takes 28 days to fully cure.
28 days.
Yeah, it's to slowly bond at a molecular level over time to achieve its maximum compressive strength.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. I love this concrete analogy because it totally reframes how we look at spiritual development in a family.
How so?
Well, faith operates on that exact same curing process. A resilient family foundation doesn't suddenly appear after one dramatic emotional Sunday service or, one massive 3-hour family meeting where everyone clears the air.
Right, it cures through small, repetitive, daily practices. The repetition is what actually creates the molecular bond.
Exactly. It takes the immense pressure off parents who think they need to manufacture profound, hour-long spiritual moments every night. And we see exactly why that cured foundation is so critical when we look at the story of Greg and Shannon.
Their story is a profound testament to this architectural truth. Yeah. Greg and Shannon spent 30 years building their family foundation slowly, day by day, habit by habit.
And they desperately needed that structural integrity.
They did, because they faced a horrific, completely unexpected storm. Their son, Jake, was hit by a drunk driver. He nearly lost his life, and the aftermath involved a massive, painful, agonizing rehabilitation process.
And what really stands out about Greg and Shannon is that their 30-year foundation didn't miraculously prevent the storm. The rain falls on every single house, regardless of how it's built.
Right, the storms come for everyone.
But because their faith had fully cured over decades of small daily habits, the house didn't wash away. The structure held.
It held firm.
They actually had the internal resources and the shared language to process their grief, to support their son through his recovery, and eventually to find the capacity to forgive the driver.
That is the ultimate test of a foundation. Structural engineers know that concrete has immense compressive strength, but it lacks tensile strength. It can handle weight pushing down, but if the earth shifts and pulls it apart, it cracks. That's why they embed rebar steel bars inside the concrete. The rebar allows the foundation to flex without breaking, and in a family, that rebar represents explicitly defined core values. When those core values are clearly stated and repeated, they become the steel rods that hold the family together when external circumstances try to pull them apart.
Okay, so the dirt is prepped, the cornerstone is set, and the concrete is poured and cured with solid rebar. But a foundation is still just a flat slab. It can't protect anyone until you raise a framework.
Right, which brings us to step 3.
Raising the framework. And the structural frame of this blueprint consists of 3 massive beams. Love God, love each other, and love others.
And when we look closely at that middle being, love each other, it requires 3 specific elements to bear weight: time, touch, and talk. Now, the modern reality is that families are exhausted and overscheduled.
Very true.
Finding a spare hour for quality time feels completely impossible for a lot of parents.
Which is why the Errand Run life hack is absolute gold. It's just so practical. The author realized that formal, sit-down family meetings often put way too much pressure on kids to perform or share their feelings.
Oh, totally. Kids freeze up.
Exactly. So instead, whenever he had to run a mundane errand like going to the hardware store or grabbing milk from the grocery store, he would take just one kid with him.
And bribe them.
Yes. He'd bribe them with a Snickers bar to get them in the car, and he'd get 20 minutes of undivided one-on-one connection.
And think about the mechanics of why that works so well. A car ride forces side-by-side communication, which is far less intimidating for a child or a teenager than face-to-face eye contact across a dinner table.
That's such a good point.
It seamlessly combines time, touch like a quick high five or a hand on the shoulder, and talk, all seamlessly integrated into the unavoidable chores of daily life.
Yeah.
You don't have to manufacture time. You just repurpose the time you are already spending.
So smart.
And then you have the third beam, love others. Because an inward-facing family can become incredibly toxic and isolated.
Yeah, you need that outward focus.
To illustrate this, the book tells this moving story about a woman named Kathy. Remember, Tracy grew up in a really difficult, dysfunctional environment. But Kathy was a woman in her broader community who noticed this young girl struggling, and she creatively stepped in to mentor her.
But not in a weird, formal way, right?
No. Kathy didn't sit her down for formal life coaching sessions. She essentially invented excuses for Tracy to come over to her house and help with simple errands. She was engineering exposure.
She recognized that Tracy needed to physically step inside a healthy, loving environment to know that such a thing even existed.
Exactly. She modeled what true hospitality and presence felt like. And the ripple effect of that is astounding. Because Kathy opened her door decades ago, Tracy now pays that exact same hospitality forward to everyone who enters the Preciado home today.
Her philosophy is essentially, I know what an open door did to save me, so how could I possibly keep my door closed to someone else?
It's beautiful.
It really drives home the impact of the framework. But, a frame without an exterior is just exposed wood, so we move to the elements that enclose the house. Step 4 is build the roof and walls.
And Preciado uses the roof and walls to symbolize covering and protection of the family.
Right, the roof represents the spiritual covering, ideally modeled by a father's sacrificial love. And the walls represent the physical, emotional, and spiritual safety of the environment. Strong walls don't imprison kids, they actually liberate them.
That's a great way to put it. When kids know the boundaries are secure and predators can't get in, they are finally free to relax and play.
But we need to pause here because the author makes a deeply compassionate point for families that don't fit the traditional mold.
Yes, this is crucial. If a father isn't present to act as the roof due to death, divorce, or abandonment, the house does not automatically collapse.
The book stresses that in those situations, the mother holds the roof through God's full provision. We see that so vividly in the story of Pam. Pam was a mother of 6 who went through a tremendously difficult divorce. She was suddenly holding the roof entirely by herself.
Working multiple jobs.
Yeah, she worked multiple jobs to keep the walls up, she showed up to the games, and she provided that daily covering. And then, the unthinkable happened. She faced the sudden, tragic passing of her 19-year-old son in his sleep.
It is just an unimaginable weight for one person to bear. But Pam didn't let the roof cave in. She absorbed the shock and held the structure firm. Her other children grew up in a protected environment, went on to college, and built healthy marriages of their own. Pam's story is tangible proof that a single, committed parent who refuses to abandon the structure creates an environment of safety that absolutely works.
That completely reframes the single-parent narrative. It shifts the entire focus from obsessing over what's missing in the house to empowering the person who is actively holding up the roof. It's a total paradigm shift.
It really is.
So we have a framed, covered, and protected house, but it's still technically a construction site until you move in, furnish the rooms, and step out onto the front porch. Step 5 is embrace and enjoy the rooms.
The concept here is that every single room in a house serves a distinct psychological and spiritual purpose.
Okay, break that down for us.
Well, the bedroom isn't just where you sleep. It's the designated sanctuary for rest and renewal. The kitchen and dining room are centers for physical, emotional, and spiritual nourishment. The living room is engineered for fun, laughter, and shared connection.
And the guest room?
The guest room is a constant physical reminder that a healthy home is outward-facing. It practices hospitality.
But the room that truly disrupts our normal way of thinking is the bathroom. The blueprint maps the bathroom directly to self-care. And the central argument is critical here. Self-care is not selfish, it is fundamental stewardship.
Because you simply cannot pour water from an empty vessel.
Right.
If a parent is constantly running on fumes, snapping at every minor inconvenience, the entire house absorbs that anxiety. Executing self-care as stewardship means acknowledging your own structural limits.
What does that look like practically?
It might look like sitting in your parked car in the driveway for 10 minutes in complete silence to decompress before walking through the front door. Or it might mean fiercely protecting 30 minutes of exercise. It is the necessary maintenance required to keep the primary caregivers structurally sound.
And how those caregivers operate dictates the overall culture of the interior, which leads to step 6, designing the interior. And we need to be really clear here. The author isn't talking about throwing thousands of dollars at expensive mid-century modern furniture or hiring a decorator.
Right. He is talking about the concept of designing your home so that what people see, feel, and hear are enjoyable and actually build up those who enter. It's about the scent or the culture of the home.
The idea of a home scent. Okay, I have to jump in on this scent concept.
Oh, it's such a good analogy.
We have all experienced this. You walk into someone's house, and sometimes the air just feels incredibly light, warm, and inviting. Other times, you step through the front door, and you instantly feel the heavy, unspoken tension in the air.
Oh, definitely.
You cannot fake the emotional scent of your home.
You really can't.
Yeah.
That scent is cultivated by the thousands of ordinary moments that happen when no one else is watching. It's determined by how the home looks, how it feels, and specifically how it sounds.
The tone of voice.
Right. It forces the question, do the words spoken within these walls build people up, or do they systematically tear people down?
Look at Ricky and Nova Page. Ricky grew up in an incredibly toxic environment. His childhood home was filled with strife, constant criticism, and deep emotional pain. The scent of his childhood was just pure tension.
Oh, yeah.
But when he and Nova got married, they made a conscious, mechanical decision to draw a completely new blueprint. They intentionally changed the tone of voice they used with each other. They bought soft blankets. They established a rule against harsh criticism.
They actively built a warm, encouraging scent.
Yes. And because they broke that generational cycle, their teenage daughter is actually eager to bring her friends over because the house feels physically and emotionally safe. That is what true interior design looks like.
It's the invisible architecture of a family. But here is the final crucial reality check of the book. Even the most beautifully scented, perfectly framed home is incredibly vulnerable if you drop it in the middle of a toxic landfill.
Ah, location.
Yep. The environment outside the walls matters just as much as what's inside. That is step 7, choose the neighborhood.
I love how Marcus tackles this. He jokes about growing up watching lifestyles of the rich and famous, dreaming of this sprawling 5,000 square foot mansion with a Porsche in the driveway, and for some strange reason, bidets in every bathroom.
The dream of the 80s.
Exactly. But his adult reality in San Diego is a modest 1,800 square foot house with original Harvest gold tile from the 1970s. But he points out a fundamental rule of real estate. Location dictates value.
Right.
If you take his exact Harvest gold tile house and drop it in a premium, highly desirable neighborhood, the value of the house skyrockets.
And he applies that real estate principle directly to relational real estate. For a family, your neighborhood is your community. The community surrounding your family will either actively nourish the culture you've built inside your walls, or it will slowly deplete it.
So who makes up this neighborhood?
The book outlines 3 necessary dimensions of a life-giving community that you have to actively cultivate. First is the church community, which provides your kids with a multi-generational vision of faith, showing them that people outside their immediate family hold these same values.
Second is the close circle. These are the friends who know you deeply, who see behind the curtain of your polite public behavior, and who love you enough to speak honestly when you are messing up.
And third is the extended table. This dimension includes the mentors, the coaches, and the other trusted adults who intentionally invest in your kids. Because, let's be honest, there will come a time when your teenager won't listen to you, but they will listen to their basketball coach.
That is so true.
If you haven't populated your neighborhood with coaches who share your values, you are leaving your kids vulnerable. You cannot passively hope a good neighborhood forms around you. You have to choose it.
So let's look at the complete architecture we've extracted today. Step 1, trust the architect, letting God determine the angles. Step 2, pour the foundation, letting the Bible and shared values cure slowly through daily habits. Step 3, raise the framework, using love as your load-bearing beams with intentional time, touch, and talk.
Step 4, build the roof and walls, providing fierce protection and spiritual covering no matter your family structure. Step 5, embrace the rooms, turning physical spaces into engines for rest, nourishment, and laughter.
Step 6, design the interior, curating a scent of peace and uplifting words. And finally, step 7, choose the neighborhood, planting your home in a life-giving relational community. This is how you actually build a home that loves and lasts.
It moves the family from a passive state of hoping things work out into an active state of intentional construction.
It really is a massive shift from just wanting a great family to actually building one. We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today on this deep dive, and hopefully you listening feel equipped with some practical tools to start reinforcing your own walls.
I want to leave everyone listening with a final lingering thought to mull over based on what we've explored today.
Let's hear it.
Think deeply about the scent of your home right now, at this exact moment. If a complete stranger walked through your front door tonight, what invisible atmosphere would their nervous system register? Would they breathe in an atmosphere of frantic busyness, sharp tones, and isolated tension? Or would they immediately feel a sense of peace, rest, and warm welcome?
That's a challenging question.
It is. And more importantly, what is one tiny, deliberate thing that you can do tonight to change the scent of the room?
That is a phenomenal question to end on, because the atmosphere is entirely up to you. If you are tired of trying to build your family on a scattered pile of wood and blind hope, and you actually want to start building from a proven plan, the blueprint is right here in front of you. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the manuscript of Project HomeWord. Take these steps, lay your cornerstone, and start building.